Welcome to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews, brought to you by our supporters at Patreon. In case you have been under a rock, the world around us is in ruins. A nihilistic worldview permeates the film industry. Sodomites control the cultural narrative. Corporations run by sexual perverts and money launderers are constantly pumping out garbage content in order to entertain us. We here at the Powell Bros are over it. We want to give honest reviews of movies that expose the wicked and glorify the good. We want to find stories that have masculine male characters who slay dragons, and feminine female characters who need saving. We want stories and want to see creators who have an artistic prowess that shames and defeats our enemies. We are tired of the nihilistic moral ambiguity of modern-day entertainment. And we want stories that change people, that inspire people towards goodness, truth, and beauty. And most importantly, we want the entire entertainment industry to bow the knee to Jesus Christ, who is Lord of all. Yes, we are Christians, and we are unashamed of that. And if that bothers you, too bad. Now, if you do wish to support us in our mission, please head over to patreon.com/the Powell Bros, or follow the link in the show notes. There you will gain access to our exclusive show, the Powell Bros Mini Reviews, as well as early access to both movie chronicles and movie reviews. Now, on with the show. Oftentimes in life, we are faced with choices under pressure that affect ourselves and those around us. Choices that change the trajectory of our lives and the lives of others. The question, of course, always is, how will we handle the pressure? Will we do the right thing and not buckle? Will we do the hard thing, take on the impossible task, and go against all odds? Well, the heroes in our movie today are faced with such a choice. Very few movies from the last decade are as inspiring and as moving as 1917. This thrilling, intense World War I film that takes a lot of risks, from the setting, the cinematography, to the budget, to the story. But does it pay off? And what lessons can be learned as we follow our heroes on their journey? Well, stay tuned to find out. Welcome to the Powell Bros Movie Reviews. We are here another week, another movie, making our way through season 2. As I think I keep saying this every week, I am loving this season. I am joined with my co-host, Tobiah Powell. Tobiah, how are you doing?
Doing pretty good. Yeah, I'm excited. This is another good movie to review.
Yes. Yeah. This is a good one. I realized, it's funny enough, I had 2 movies in the year 2000 on my list. Gladiator and Patriot. Unintentionally. They were back to back. And then next I have 2 movies. Wait.
Well, you also had Shawshank, which was late 90s.
Late 90s.
And then,
right. So yeah, but I was talking about like year 2000. And then this 1917 came out in 2019, and Jojo Rabbit also came out in 2019.
Oh, that's funny.
So unintentionally. And isn't Jojo Rabbit the next one after Surf's Up?
For you, yeah. Yeah, that's your next one.
Yeah. And then unintentional.
And then Saving Private Ryan, which was also like, you have like 2 times for all your movies.
2 time frames. I know, so there's obviously a period of time that
Oh Brother, Where Art Thou? Iron Giant. Like, these are all
all set in like the same time.
Yeah, all filmed same time.
Anyways, it's just like, and that's like, it's not anything I thought about or like intentionally did. It's just like, hey, these are the movies that I love.
Yeah,
and, so
that's funny.
So 1917, Tobiah. That's the movie we're watching, everyone. 1917.
Yep.
Tobiah, what are your initial thoughts of this movie?
All right, so Pig may or may not have been some inspiration for my movie Stanton. And
okay, I was gonna bring this up.
If you watch 1917, you might clearly tell that was inspiration for my first movie, Fettered. Which was all shot the same way, one take type movie. I think we did 3 story cuts. So like, there's 3 cuts in the story. We did a little different than 1917 did. We didn't just cut it right in half.
Right.
So we kind of did like almost like 3 parts, but not really. But anyway, that is where I got my inspiration to do that. There's only one other big movie that I'm aware of that's done it, which was Birdman.
I've been wanting to see that movie. Okay, that makes this.
Oh yeah, you should definitely see it. Michael Keaton, Emma Stone.
I need to see it. I love Michael Keaton.
Michael Keaton and Emma Stone star in it. It's yeah, no, it's the only other one that I'm aware of that's done it, and they did it exactly the same way. Well, 1917 did it the exact same way they did. Just it's 2 takes, cut right in half. It's not actually 2 takes; it's many takes that are just edited together either through CGI, camera movement, whatever. And I tried to notice as many as I could this time, and I noticed a handful, but yeah.
Yeah, there's a handful there.
But as far as the movie goes, I mean, yeah, it's a great movie. I love the contrast of the beginning and the end. The whole premise of the story and what's happening and the motivation behind these guys and why they're going on this adventure, and just the magnitude of the war, and really seeing the realism of war, and with the loss of friends and the loss of companions and having to kill people, and this is a very personable movie, and everything's very close up and personal. And I think the way they filmed it really amplifies that and goes so well with the story. The only thing that always takes me out of this story is when Benedict Cumberbatch comes in. Like, I'm just like, it's like the weirdest thing when he's just there. I'm just like, really? Where does he come from? But other than that, yeah. I mean,
just because he's like a big name, recognized actor.
Yeah. I feel like the way they reveal him, it's like this big reveal. It's Benedict Cumberbatch in this small role.
Yeah. Yeah. It's Colonel Mackenzie you've been waiting for. It's actually Benedict Cumberbatch. Okay.
Yep. But yeah, no, it's a great movie, and excited to hear your step-by-step talk over it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. I guess, yeah, what are your initial thoughts?
I absolutely love this movie. Like, when I watched it again this time around, I was like, yeah, I'm so glad I picked this movie. This is probably the second, if I'm being honest, the second movie. Well, no, that's a third movie, at least this time around watching it, that's really moved me, and it's like it got me fired up. And this was towards the end and whatnot. We'll get there. Patriot was another one. I think Gladiator was one too, and then Pig, I think, as well. So a lot of movies, they're just inspiring, that just get you a little emotional, get you a little fired up, make you want to do manly things and go fight some Germans.
Yeah. This is your third war movie.
Third war movie. I have 3 in a row.
Your next
no, 4 in a row.
5 in a row. You have 5 in a row.
Wait, is Saving Private Ryan after Jojo Rabbit?
Yeah.
Well, your 5
movies. Your 5 movies are all war movies.
That's funny.
So your first one's Shawshank, but then it's 5 war movies, and then no other war movies after that. You got Oh Brother Where Art Thou?
That's funny.
Iron Giant, Fantastic Mr. Fox, and then No Country for Old Men. So all your war movies are right there.
Isn't Fantastic Mr. Fox set in a, well, never mind. Okay.
Oh yeah.
I think it's set during a war, but
yeah.
I can't remember. Yeah, anyways, that's like unintentional. But I love war movies. And I was watching this and I was thinking like, I wonder why I picked this over Saving Private Ryan. So at the end, I think going back, I probably would have switched that up. I don't know why I put Saving Private Ryan so low, because I do think that that's probably the best war movie ever made, or at least not including Patriot and Gladiator, which I would put above it. But 1917 is up there for me because of its uniqueness, because of the cinematography, the story that is told. I think what they do with the characters is really well done. It's a really basic story, but one that I enjoy and that I just love. And like, there wasn't a moment in this movie where I'm like, oh, this is kind of boring or this is kind of slow. I mean, there's somewhat little sort of slow, but not really, because the movie still picks up in it keeps the tension and it builds suspense throughout the film. So anyways, we start off, we're in World War I. Setting is April 6th, 1917. We're a year and a half away from the end of World War I. But we're at a point where the Germans are being routed by the Americans and the British, and they're kind of in retreat at the kind of towards the end, getting close to the end of the war. And we are following two American soldiers. The movie starts, opening scene, grass field with weeds and just a nice view. It pans out until we see our two protagonists. We got not lieutenant. They're what's the name? What's their rank? I can't remember what they're low ranking.
They're corporals.
Corporals. So we got Corporal Blake and Schofield.
Or Lance corporals. I guess Lance is part of their rank.
Okay. We
British.
Do we ever get? We get Blake's. Do we get Blake's name, first name? Well, isn't it William Blake? And then, or no, William is Schofield's name. Anyways, we don't get this is their last names, Blake and Schofield. I don't know about Blake, but I know we get Schofield's first name later on in the movie, which is actually, I think, a pivotal moment in the story. I'll get there because I noticed that. But they're awakened by their sergeant, and they're told to report because something is being planned. And he goes to Blake and say, "Hey, the general is here. He usually doesn't come to this company, but he's here with us. He needs to talk with you. We need a meeting, and he needs you to bring with you a partner, a buddy, someone. We need two people." And so Blake's like, "Okay, well, hey, I got Schofield right here. He's my friend." They're sitting, resting, they're sleeping, and they're woken by their sergeant, and so they're told to report and come. He picks Schofield, and they go. We find out that Blake's brother is in the 2nd Battalion, and we find out a few things here about his character. We find out that they go in and see the general, and the general's like, "Hey, like Blake, I know you're good with maps. Can you help me out? Help look here. What would be the safest way or best way to get here? Whatever." And then the general lays out their plan. He says, "Hey, I gotta get this right. Okay, the Germans have withdrawn. They've retreated from the 2nd Division, 2nd Devons, 2nd Battalion, and they being led by Colonel Mackenzie. Yeah, Colonel Mackenzie, who is in command of 2nd Devons, and he has decided that he's going to take his men and attack the retreating Germans. So they've routed the Germans, they got the Germans to retreat, and now he's getting ready to say, "Hey, tomorrow at dawn, we are going to finish them off. Like, this is going to end the war. We're going to take them. We've got them up against the ropes." But it turns out, because of an aerial shot that they got, that the 2nd Battalion doesn't know what they're actually getting into, and apparently the Germans likely strategically retreated, and they have set up a huge artillery and a bunch of men, and they're going to lead the Americans into a trap, the 2nd Battalion. And it's basically all these Americans are going to die. It's going to be 1,600 soldiers that are going to be going in, and they're probably all going to be killed. So they're going to be caught off guard, and we have no way of communicating to them because, hey, this is 1917. This is they don't have radios. They don't have cell phones. They cannot contact them. So they do what they often did. They sent soldiers. Foot soldiers to go run and deliver messages. So they say, "Hey, Blake, we want you first because we think you can do this, but also because your brother is in the 2nd Battalion. Your brother, Sergeant Blake, he is with them, and if you want to save your brother's life, you gotta do this, and you gotta do it right now." And so we're getting that the story is starting up right now. Like the second act is kicked into first gear. We're going. Yeah. So they're going to deliver a message to the colonel saying from the general, do not attack. Do not do this attack. You need to warn him. We need to warn you that, hey, you are going to lose all your men if you attack. So we have a timeline set up. We know there's a ticking clock for our heroes. They have a certain amount of time, like 24, 32 hours or so that they have until they attack. So hey, you guys got to get going. So right off the bat, we see the contrast between the kids.
Yeah. I was just going to say, because I think they also said it was like 10 miles, and and it's interesting that they chose that guy because they knew that he would be motivated to get there faster, and because his brother's there. And yeah,
exactly. And right off the bat, we see the contrast between the two characters because Blake is very eager and determined. He's like, okay, let's do this. Let's go. He's really motivated. And Schofield's like, okay, let's think about this logically. He's a little more hesitant. He's not super eager about this. Though Blake kind of chose him as his buddy. So he's kind of feels obligated to go. And he's kind of contemplating whether or not he should go. But he's like, okay, well, I think I need to do this because the general's telling me to. Blake volunteered me. It's like, okay. But he's trying to talk to Blake, say, hey, let's think about this. Like, is this really really good idea? Is this really something we can do? And so forth. Like, do we really need to go right now? Like, are we even prepared? Are we even ready? And Blake's like, no, we gotta go. We're doing this. So right off the bat, we see that Blake's really optimistic, and of course he's motivated because it's his brother. Schofield's more pessimistic, and he's a little more hopeless, and just they both seen a lot of loss in the war. And you see how they're both responding to it in different ways. So it's helpful, just starting point for our characters going forward. They make their way to and we're following them. Like I said, this is one shot. So we're following them through the trenches as they're making their way to a command post, trying to find a commander that can help them get across or something like that. So they need to deliver a message to him, but they find out he's dead. So they find a lieutenant in charge, and you get he's going to give them access to cross over. Is that No Man's Land at that point? I think. Yeah. Cross over No Man's Land, which is like basically a death wish. Likely, if there were troops on the other side, find out that the Germans have left that area. But basically it's like a first kind of suspenseful moment. There's a lot of tension in this. The score in this film is one of the best that we've seen this season, in my opinion. I think one of the best ever. Like, I loved the score in this film, and I thought it was really well done. So so I was blanking on something. I was thinking about something else, but I'll get to that later. So they find the lieutenant. This lieutenant is just like, we get a taste of what World War I was really like. It was a bloody war. It was one of the first times that it was the first World War, but first time where you have so much bloodshed or as much bloodshed, and just and almost like a hopelessness, because like there wasn't really much hope in what they were fighting for. The U.S. joins to help the British and France, I believe, fighting off the Germans and the Hungarians, or the Huns as they call them in this movie, and one of the countries that Germany allied with, and there was really like no one really won this war, even though like it did have a lot of impact upon Germany, because they did lose, but America lost too. We lost a lot of men in this war, and so we get a taste of that in this film, just like how horrific the war was, especially because you have this lieutenant who's probably been there since the beginning, and he's just like, he doesn't even care. Like, he's just ready to give up, and he's like telling these men like, hey, like, you guys are insane for wanting to do this. For one, it's you have, like, good luck surviving. You're not going to make it. But he's like, all right, I'll help you, I guess, but good luck. Good luck. And basically just saying like, hey, you have a death wish. Like, you guys are screwed. But he helps them get over. So they get over and go through No Man's Land.
He gives them some flare guns before, so that if they get across, that they can set it off, and just telling them that they're clear to move forward into those other trenches.
yeah, and the lieutenant's like, he doesn't think they're gonna make it very far.
Yeah,
but Blake's
he's
determined.
very pessimistic, and he's like, throw me the if you're getting shot at, try to throw the flare gun back because I'm running out of them.
Yes, exactly. So they climb up, and it's actually a really good moment where Schofield's like kind of makes a joke, says age before beauty, or beauty before age, or I can't remember what he said, but he goes ahead of him.
Yeah.
Makes a joke. And so it's like the first moment where Schofield's stepping up a little bit. And he's like, okay, I'll being a leader. And he's like, he goes up first and climbs up over, and then they're both crawling through.
I thought it was Blake that did that.
I'm pretty sure I noticed it was Schofield, but
wait,
I could be wrong.
Sorry, maybe I have the names mixed up. Is the chubbier one
Schofield's
Blake or Schofield?
Yeah. The chubbier one's Blake.
Chubby one's Blake?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty sure it's Blake that said it, but maybe not. I could be wrong.
Okay. Yeah, I wrote down that it was him. I could be wrong. Whatever. Either way, they both climb up. You see Schofield's like, okay, he's willing to do this. Like, and there's a lot of tension. There's a lot of build up here. I thought it was really well done. And then they go. They're not met with any resistance. But then Schofield cuts his hand on some barbed wire. But they keep moving forward. He's like, good. His hand's bleeding. Then they hear a plane flying overhead, so they find cover. So there's not a whole lot of resistance, but there's some, and but the tension's building. Like, they could get shot at any moment. But they make the way to the front line and worry that they're going to meet enemy soldiers, but they don't. But the music, I love what the music is. It builds up as they're like about to pull their guns out and look down the trench. It's like building up tension. You think that this is the first big fight that's going to happen. And it builds up. They pull their guns out, look down, and music stops, and there's no one there. So it's kind of like a fake out, but it was well done, well built up, because there's still that tension, because that's just how it is. You don't know. And this movie, like, we feel we're experiencing what they're experiencing, especially because the one shot, we're following them through the trenches, we're following them through the grime and the mud as they crawl by dead bodies as they're going through just filthy water and mud and dirt and getting caught in barbed wire fences and like all these things that's happening to them. It's like and having to look into a trench. It's like we're feeling that with them. We're experiencing that. So I thought it was well done. But so they get down into the at this moment they take a little break so Schofield can tend to his wound and help and get his hand, and then they hydrate, and then once they keep going they find a deep underground bunker that the Germans have built, and as they're looking through they're like pretty amazed, like, hey, this is like they built all this, like, this is huge. But then they find some tripwire in one of the rooms, and some rats are like crawling around, like some massive rats. And one of them falls down and trips the tripwire, and then an explosion goes off, and Schofield gets buried under the rock because of the explosion. So Blake is trying to find him. He's trying to unbury him, and he does. He saves his life, pulls him out. They get out of the bunker, and with a lot of struggle, but they make it. And and they almost fall into a mine shaft as they're walking through the bunker, and they eventually get out to make their way outside and look over a ridge to find an abandoned war zone with many like mortar shells going off everywhere. Schofield's like, this is kind of his first kind of moment of despair. He's saying like, why he looks at Blake and says, why did you choose me? Like, because his eyes are filled with dust. Yeah, when
the explosion went off and the rocks fell on top of him, he had a ton of dirt in his eyes, and he like actually couldn't see for a while. And then he was finally, when they finally got out of there, he was able to wash it out. And he used up all his water to wash his eyes. And then Blake was like, here, you can have some of mine. And then he drinks some of his.
And then Schofield just rebukes Blake, said like, hey, why did you choose me? Like, I didn't want to do this. I didn't sign up for this. Like, what am I doing here? Why? And Blake's like, I didn't know what we were doing. I didn't know what we were signing up for. I didn't know what I was volunteering for. Like, we were buddies, you know, and you were with me. It's like, I chose, and so I just, by default, chose you to come with me. And, and because he thought it would be just an easy task, you know, because oftentimes things like this would be easy. It just, sort of easy, like nothing as crazy as the task that they were given, and so he's trying to just say, hey, like, I'm sorry, man, this is what happened, this is the cards we were dealt, but you can also leave. Like, there's nothing stopping you. Like, why are you still, you don't have to stay with me, you can leave. But he decides, of course, to stay. So they set off the flare, so let the men know the line is clear, and then they just keep plodding forward. After some bantering for a bit, some friendly banter, they make their way to a clearing and see enemy planes leaving the area with there's smoke in the distance. And Schofield comments about how Blake, and then they get in a conversation about how Blake will earn a medal for saving Schofield's life, and it's more of told as like a, you know, it's like, oh yeah, like, you know, we went through this, and you get a scrap of metal, you know, something to wear around your neck, and that's, you know, yippee. But then Blake's like, oh yeah, you're right. Like, he likes the idea. Like, oh, that sounds like pretty cool. I'm gonna get a medal for this. So you see difference between them, and that. Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe I missed it. Did you mention earlier, where Blake was asking Schofield about his medal?
I think isn't that this scene?
No, so in the very beginning of the movie, like when they were walking through, he asked him, like, hey, where's your medal? I don't see it. And he's just like, I don't know, I just don't wear it. And he's like, why don't you wear it? Like, that's cool. And he's like, I don't know. Like, he just doesn't care at all. And then
okay.
Yeah.
And then this scene, yeah, you're right. I forgot about that. And then this scene, he tells Blake, like, I actually gave it away. I traded it for, I think it was for like a friend from a French family or something. And he traded it for a bottle of wine because he said he was thirsty.
Yep.
So he gave it away because of that, because he didn't really care about the medal. It didn't have much meaning, you know, and so he kind of, so like there's, you know, you see that one, he's not there for the valor, for the awards. He isn't there for
glory,
any glory.
Yeah.
And which sets up what he is there for in a little bit, which we'll get to. So Blake comments how he should have kept it in order to take it home to his family. All right, here, because this is the first mention of his family. Probably the first mention. I might have said before, but this is one that stood out to me. It says, you know, take it home to your family so that you show them, or if you die, then they have something to see that, oh, he died a hero, and, you know, this is the medal that he won. But he says, no, it's just a bit of tin, you know, and it doesn't make you special. And then he talks about how I don't know if I fully understand this. He said he had gone home, or he had an opportunity to go home, but he didn't want to. He wanted to stay and fight, but he wanted to stay and fight because there's no point. You know, he's just going to go home and not be fighting for a war that needs to be fought, but that is almost being fought for no reason, because we're all just going to die in this. And it's just, there's just so much bloodshed and so much loss. So even like that, he's like, he's even struggling with the idea of going home. He had an opportunity to go home and he chose not to. And so he's, you know, wrestling with that and whatnot. So, which was helpful, I think, for his character. And so they stumble upon a house, and it has, because they're still walking through all this during this time, they find an orchard of cherry trees that have been cut down. And then they check the house to make sure no one's in there. Blake takes the back, Schofield the front, and they don't find anything in the house, including no food. So it's been abandoned. But
I think there's an interesting thing about the cherry trees, because you look at them and you see that they're all cut down, and you're sad, and you're like, oh, like, that's, like, why would they cut down all these cherry trees? But then Blake's explained to them, like, or was it Blake or Schofield? One of them was explaining that, like, I think it was Blake. It was Blake for sure.
Probably Blake.
He was like, no, like this is how it's supposed to be. They cut them down, and then 2 trees will grow from them. So, and eventually this whole area will be covered in trees. And so it's just a part of the process of growing cherry trees and producing more fruit is chopping them down and letting them grow twice as big.
Death and resurrection.
Twice as many, yeah.
Yeah. But, that's like so good because Schofield sees the trees and he's like, oh no, like they, he sees death and comments about how terrible death is and just the hopelessness of death. And then Blake sees it and it's like, oh no, there's actually resurrection here. There's life here. There's going to be more trees. It's going to be covered in orchards. So it's such a good contrast. I'm glad you pointed that out.
Yeah.
And that was great. So, to keep going, no food in the house. Schofield has a weird feeling about the place. They find a cow on the property, get some milk. He fills his canister with some milk. It looks like it was like recently, the cow was recently milked, which is interesting. And as the music kind of calms down, there's a lot of tension in this scene because you don't know like what's gonna happen, what's going on. Like there's this abandoned property, and this seems like something's off, something's eerie. And then they hear 2 planes coming, or 3 planes flying over. One of them is at least I think actually 2 of them are friendlies, and the other one's a German. And the friendlies shoot down the German plane, and this is like, talk about scenes that took me out of the movie. Like the plane, the German gets shot down, and then he flies in. He needs to crash somewhere, and so he just happens to crash into the barn that our 2 heroes are at. It's like, okay, fine. It felt a little convenient, and like if he's gonna crash land, like he's gonna try. I mean, I know he's like probably freaking out. He's gonna die, but he's probably gonna try to not crash into a building. At least that would make sense. But anyways, just one thing that took me out.
Yeah.
Other than that, it was fine. So the plane crashes, and then another great character moment. They quickly jump into action. Blake jumps in and tries and rescues the German. His plane's on fire. He's gonna get burned alive. Plane's on fire. Goes in. They rescue him, get him out, and then Schofield says to Blake, I think it was Schofield, like, no, why don't we just shoot him? Like, let's put him out of his misery. All right, let's kill him. And Blake's like, no, like we don't kill men like that. That's not how we fight wars. So Blake wants to help. Schofield's like, no. And so Schofield goes and gets water for him. The camera is looking at Schofield, and in the distance you hear knife stab, and Blake saying, no, no, no. And the soldier stabs Blake off screen, and Blake's and Blake gets stabbed, and so Schofield shoots the German soldier and kills him, and then he holds Blake in his arms, and sadly Blake succumbs to his injuries and bleeds to death. But they have a great interaction before that happens. Schofield, he doesn't want to leave Blake. He's like, Blake's been the only thing that's keeping him going, like keeping him like in any way motivated to do this, and like he's doing this for his brother as well. Like he needs to go see his brother and save his brother. Schofield's like, I can't leave you, Blake, and so he tries to carry him, but it's like hurting Blake even more as he's trying to drag him. And then he's and Blake says like, hey, like find my brother, look for him, you'll recognize him. He looks just like me. He looks like me, but he's a bit taller. And then he pulls out his family's letters that he's going to give to his family. He tells them to take them home. And Schofield assures him that he will find his way, and that he will. This is like, not like, it's a big turning point in the story for him. Because he's like, Blake's dying and he's going to die. But I'm going to promise him, I'm going to do this. I'm going to accomplish this. He's been so pessimistic up to this point, but he's like, no, I'm going to do this, Blake. I'm going to find your brother. I'm going to save your brother. And then Blake passes, and like, this is kind of an unexpected moment in the movie, because it's like, you expect to follow Blake and Schofield through the whole film. But no, and Blake's kind of, I wouldn't say Blake's been the main focus, but because they focus equally on both of them. But you kind of are drawn more towards Blake because he's the optimistic one. He's the motivated one. And Schofield's like the pessimistic one that complains.
Yeah, there's definitely more of a draw towards him. He might actually have been, I think, more of a focus on purpose, and then because of that contrast,
right. So some friendly soldiers make their way to the property, and they find Schofield, and they help him carry Blake's body. He finds a corporal who offers his aid, gives him a ride towards his next destination. And the corporal tells him not to do not dwell too much on your friend's death. So this is kind of, I realize Schofield doesn't have an opportunity to grieve. He has a couple moments where he's sitting there holding him, but he's like, nope, time to jump into action. And the corporal's like, hey, don't dwell on this. Like, you're experiencing something that we're all experiencing, but you have to keep going. So don't dwell on it. So he's not given a moment to really just break down or even cry over this. Like, he's not able to mourn this. He's like, keep going. So he gets into the back of the truck, and you can sense his despair while the other soldiers are conversing and smoking cigarettes, and he's just got just pretty devastated face, and he's just looking out. It doesn't really say anything. There's a soldier telling a story, and Schofield's not even really listening or paying attention, or he could care less about it. And then the truck breaks down, or it gets stuck in the mud, and then this was a great moment because he jumps right into action. They get out of the truck, and then Schofield's like, oh no, like he realizes that, okay, I can't just sit here in despair. Like, I need to keep going. This truck's supposed to transport me, and it's going to save a lot of time if I let them take me where I'm going. But oh no, we're stuck in the mud. And so he's like, okay, we gotta go. And he's like motivating everyone and telling everyone like, hey, let's push this truck. Let's get it out. Let's get it out of the mud. So he's more determined than anyone else at that moment. And then they get it out of the mud. He gets in the truck. One of the men then, like, now that he's kind of opened up, he asks him like, hey, like, what are you even doing? Like, what's your mission here? So he tells him his mission, and there's like a debate about why the Germans are keep fighting, or why they keep fighting when they're like in the moment of retreat, when the war seems to be almost over. Like, why do they keep doing this? And there's like a little bit of discussion there and debate. Not too much worth getting into. So they make it to where he needs to get off. He gets off. The colonel informs him to make sure that there are witnesses when he gets there. So once you get to Mackenzie, make sure that someone's there to witness. You tell him, like, do not send your men out. Call off the ambush. Call off your men. And he says, because some men just want to fight. It's like, make sure someone's there to back you up, because some men just want to fight. Which as I'm watching this, like, I'm asking myself, okay, this is probably going to set up a future struggle, or a future problem that he's going to have to face. And it kind of does, sort of, at least when because Mackenzie later on, we'll get to that, but it does set up something later, though it's brief. So I noticed that. It's like, this is foreshadowing here. So then he has to cross, at this moment, he has to cross a bridge over some water, and another really tense scene, because then he gets shot at from this guy in the window. He's getting shot at. So he gets into a shooting match with him. He gets a couple shots off, and then the shooting stops. So he goes into the building thinking that the guy's dead, but a little worried that maybe he's not. So he goes upstairs, opens the door, and bang, he gets shot, and he's knocked out. So this is kind of what you were saying, like the half, like cut in half, two halves of the movie, where it's like they've stopped the story for the most part, though we're where our character is. Like, we're not going off somewhere else and following another story. Like, we're still in the same story. Our character's knocked out, so we're blacked out, screen's blacked out, and then he wakes up, and it's now nighttime. So it's dark, so time has passed, and obviously the soldier that was in the room is dead, because our hero's alive. So he succumbed to his injuries. So he starts making his way outside, and like this scene and then the scene after the next scene like are probably one of the best scenes that we've seen so far in this season. I love these sequences where he's walking through this city that's in ruins, that's in rubbles, and there's explosions going off, there's flares going off, there's gunfire, there's a building that he finds on fire, which I think is actually a little bit later, but it just more on the cinematography side. It's a big set that you can tell that, you know, they either went somewhere for this or they built it. I've seen behind the scenes of this in the past. It's really cool how they did this scene, but there's a lot that went into it. But just following him as he's just slowly walking through these ruins, and just seeing the flares go off and the lighting, it's just incredible. The music is so good, and it is great. Battle raging out around him. Then he gets shot out by Germans, and then he starts running until he takes cover with the kind of hope, and then he takes cover. And then the score changes. You get more of a hopeful score. Kind of starts billowing up, and he gets up and keeps running. Flares are going off all around him, and then things quiet for a moment, and then the score changes. The ground beneath his feet is rumbling as he makes his way closer to the light that's emanating from the fire that he sees. It's burnt this large building, so he walks towards this building, and this massive. It's almost like a cathedral, I think, that's just on fire. And then he finds a German soldier in the distance, but he doesn't know if it's a friendly or not. So he's making his way towards him, and then the guy slowly picks up his rifle and starts aiming at him. And then he's like, "Oh no, this is a German!" So he shoots at him. So Schofield takes off running, and then but then he's able to find a place to cover. Goes into a building, kind of a basement area, and is able to hide. And then we meet the first female of the movie.
Yeah,
we really hate we hate women. We do. Most of our movies don't have very many women, so
in this movie, at least I think movies. She's the only woman in this movie. I'm pretty sure
she's the only woman.
And how dare you, Trent, have a movie that you love that only has one woman in it, and she's a mother.
And she's a mother.
How dare you?
She's a very feminine mother.
She's a feminine mother. How dare you have that as your favorite movie?
Who nurtures our hero to health.
Yeah.
Oh man, I'm such a bigot.
Yeah.
That's why I like war movies so much, or World War II movies, because they don't have women, or World War I and World War II, or any war before we were in Iraq. I don't even know when women started going in combat.
Yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and then when you get they're actually starting to like make like historic movies with women in them.
Yes, and putting
like
women
war
in
movies. And it's like,
yes,
no.
It doesn't fit, doesn't work.
Well, like
no, and this is
Gladiator 2. I'm pretty sure there's female gladiators. Like,
was there really?
Yeah, in the trailer.
Oh, sorry, 2. I was like,
Gladiator
first
2. Yeah.
So. Okay. Is there? Oh my gosh, that's gonna be interesting. Okay, whatever. Well, I was gonna point this out later, but I'll point it out now. The one thing that's really important about this movie, and the one thing that this movie reminds us and tells us, is that men back then went out to fight. They went overseas. They went to another nation, or those that were in that nation, in Europe. Mm-hmm. They went to fight so that women and children back home didn't have to, so that the effects of war would not reach their families at home, the women and children at home. They didn't go to war alongside the women and say, "Hey, come join me in this fight." No, they said, "No, I'm going to go lay down my life so that you don't have to. Mm-hmm. It's my life for yours." But now it's, now it's backwards in a lot of senses in our nation. It's like, no, women should go to fight and give their life for us, and that it is it's a disgrace to women. Women are not made for this. Women were not made to fight.
Well, it's a disgrace to the men and the women.
They're not made to take life. What was that?
It's a disgrace to the men and women as well. Yeah.
Right. And it's weak men that create situations like that. It's weak men that allow women to go and fight. That's why you didn't have that back then in World War I. And I love this movie came in 2019, and they were very accurate, very true to the time period, to what it was really like. And this movie reminds us of what it was like. And it's not glorious. I mean, it's not pretty. It's not. War was off. It was awful. It had very terrible effects, negative effects upon everyone. No one really won this war, as I said before. Like, there was loss on both sides, and this movie shows that definitely. But it also shows the heroism and the men, the bravery that we saw in men who did go and fight, knowing that they're likely not going to come home. This is a losing battle, but they went to fight for honor, for valor, for their country, for their people. So
yeah.
Anyways, probably finish off with that discussion at the end, but
yeah,
this movie tells us that, and yeah, so we meet this young lady. She's French. She has a daughter, a little baby. Right off the bat, I think he speaks a little bit of French to her, and he's like, "Hey, like I just I need a place to stay real quick for a little bit, and she right off the bat she nurtures his wound, helps and on the back of his head, so she helps him heal and get him back to health while he's resting.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, that scene, like it's literally the first moment he's been able to rest since the beginning of the movie,
pretty much.
Like, and he's been going through hell like this whole time, and then you see this like actual moment of peace where he's actually able to take a breath, and he actually does take like a deep breath, and then he lays his head back and relaxes for the first time. And I mean, this whole movie. So
definitely that's important. And this is the first time he's able to do that. And the mom says that their baby's hungry, she doesn't have food, and so he offers some of his food, and she's like, oh no, she can't eat that, and she's like, oh well, I have some milk, so he gives her some of the cow's milk from earlier.
This isn't her baby either. This is a baby she found, remember?
Oh really? I didn't even catch that.
Yeah, so it's not her baby. So it's a baby that she found. Okay. She doesn't know it, and he asks like, who's the mother? Do you know her? And she's like, I don't know who the mother is. And
which I guess makes sense why she can't feed the baby.
Why she can't nurse the baby? Yeah,
nurse the baby.
Yep.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, but it's interesting. So very, very motherly.
Yeah, and she could not
saving
believe
a child.
Yeah, and she couldn't believe that he had milk. He's like, here, have some milk.
I know. Yeah,
she's like, wait, you have milk?
Kind of convenient, but right.
Well, no, it's great. Like it's great. Like because they would have they saw the opportunity to get milk, so they get milk, and then they end up meeting a baby, and it's
resourceful. Yeah. And like he's giving of his milk, his resources, his hydration, means of hydration.
No, he's definitely sacrificing
for this child. Sacrifice, yes. He then hears a bell toll, indicating that the clock's still ticking. Which is for us because we're kind of thinking we're settling down as well as we're watching this. Like, okay, he can rest now. We can rest. We can take a breath because we've not been able to do that. But then the bell tolls, and it's like the clock's ticking still. So he's like, instead of waiting until for the sun to rise, he gets up and keeps on going. He then finds a soldier, and he runs into some conflict. There's some soldiers that are here. They're plastered, some Germans. He finds one of them, and he's pretty much forced to kill him. He didn't want to kill him at first. He's holding his mouth, trying to keep him quiet so he doesn't yell. And he's like, "Hey, I'm gonna kill you if you make a noise." So he takes his hand off, and then right off the bat he yells. So then he has to kill him. So there's a little bit of struggle as he's trying to kill him. He gets him on the ground, and it takes a while, but kills him. But then another soldier's coming by who's completely drunk, and he picks up his gun and starts shooting. So he has to get away. And because at first it's like, okay, there's no threat, but there is a threat. There's 2 soldiers that are coming after him, and he has to deal with. So he takes off running, and this scene as well, like, picks back up. This is just incredibly well done. He's getting shot at from away. He's like he has to sprint at this moment, so he's sprinting through these ruins of the city, and then we have the scene where he just jumps into a river. Like, oh yeah, the girl had mentioned that the river will take you pretty much down to where you're closer to where you're supposed to be. So just because he asked for directions, so he knows where he's going. So he finds the river, jumps into the river without even no hesitation. So he jumps in and then makes his way down the river. Things kind of slow down a little bit, but he's making his way through and floats down, and then but then he falls down a waterfall. But he's able to make it to the surface and swim to safety. As he's floating on his back, floating in the water, he finds some flower petals that are laying on the surface of the river. This is, maybe to remind him of the cherry trees, and reminds him of Blake and that hopefulness and that optimism and that just being positive and on the having a good outlook, and but thinking of where Blake was cut down. But then he gets out of the water and then stumbles on the ground, and then because the reason I think that reminded him back then is because this is the moment where he breaks. He's not broken at this point. He had a moment to just rest with the girl, but even then he's still like, he still knows that the clock's ticking and he needs to get out of there, and that there are soldiers all around, and that he needs to now help this girl and this baby. But this is the moment where he finally breaks, or he's crying. He's at his wit's end. I think this is the all is lost moment. He doesn't know, like, it is even worth continuing. Like, I've lost my friend. And I'm supposed to do this mission on my own. And it's a mission I didn't want to do in the first place, and he's just been through so much opposition. The clock is ticking. He's getting because the light's dawning. Oh, that's probably the other issue. Is like he's floating on the river, and the sun's coming up, and now he knows, like, it's time for them to attack, and I don't even know where I'm at. I don't even know if I'm there yet. But then you hear singing in the distance. You hear a song, some men singing in the distance, and so he kind of makes his way towards them. I don't know if they're singing a hymn or a war ballad or whatever it is, but they're doing it, getting ready to fight. But Schofield, he doesn't even assume that this is the second Devons, the battalion that he's looking for. But he makes his way over there and then sits by a tree by some other soldiers and just listens to the singing as the soldiers are all gathered in this forest, just actually waiting to go out into the clearing to go fight.
Yeah.
And then he, I can't remember. Does he ask, like, oh yeah, he asks, like, where's second Devons? But at this moment, it's like, you think, like, he's given up, like, this is it for him.
Yeah.
He's like, where's
he just, like,
second
kind of
Devons?
Casually, like, asks, like,
casually, yeah.
Yeah,
It's like, I'm still looking for them. He's like, probably, like, I doubt it's here. It's like, oh, we're second Devons. It's like, what?
Yeah.
And he's like, he perks up, because he's just, like, distraught, and then he perks up. He's like, what? He's like, yeah, we're second Devons. And he's like, where's Colonel Mackenzie? And he tells him where Colonel Mackenzie is, and so he's just right then. He's like, okay, this is start of the third act. Like, this is the final home stretch to reach his goal, to reach the climax of the story. So he gets up and he's making his way to the front line, running through the trench, trying to say, where's Colonel Mackenzie? Where's Colonel Mackenzie? He finds some lieutenants and some sergeants. He's like, hey, or commander, like, hey, where he is? Oh, he finds one commander, and the commander. But at this point, the song, they stop singing, and then the soldiers start making their way to the battlefield, and into the trench, and then now they're running out of the trench, and the commander who's in charge of that battalion, he is he's crying, like he's broken down. So you kind of see his hopelessness there, in him. He's just in shock. And then I just, there's so many memorable shots in this movie. Schofield keeps walking. He's like literally walking. He's not even running, but he's walking through the trench, kind of speed walking, but walking, and then like mortars are going off like right beside him. One like throws him off balance, and then another one throws him off balance. But I just love like the camera's following him. You're looking right at him as this is happening, and I just loved how they did that, and throws him off balance, and then he's told to wait. Then he finds another like commander. He's told to wait for the first wave to go through because the first wave has started. Oh yeah, sorry, let me back up. All those men by the trees, they were the second wave. So that's one thing that kicked him into gear. Is like, oh no, like that means the first wave's already like they're going, so he has to go. So that was it. Sorry, that was the second wave that he found, because they told him like, yeah, we're the second wave. So he's told to wait for the first wave to go over. And he knows that he can't run onto the battlefield or anything. So he's given a choice. At this moment, he's like, okay, if I need to get to Mackenzie, I can't make it there through the trench. I have to go into the battlefield. And so he's given a choice at that moment, and he's like, okay, I'm going to do this. And there's some tension there. There's a little bit of reluctance, but he's like, no, this is what I need to do. And so he starts, he gets up onto the battlefield, against the wishes of the commanders that were telling him, hey, what are you doing? You idiot. Do not do that. And but he's like, no, I'm doing this. And he gets up, and then he starts walking at first, and then he runs as the soldiers take to the field, and he's like, so he takes off running. He's running alongside the trench, but towards where commander
in front of
where Colonel Mackenzie is.
Yeah.
What?
Well, yeah, he's like in front of it, and he's between the trench and where the soldiers are running to.
Exactly. Yeah. And so he's kind of walking, and then he takes off running, and he's running with the soldiers. And there's one part where he runs into a soldier, and I'm pretty sure I heard this a long time ago, or when this movie came out, but like, I'm pretty sure that was unintentional.
Yeah,
he wasn't supposed to
hit any of the soldiers,
but it was just so well done.
Yeah,
that
there's just so many of them that like he just naturally did.
But just it adds some realism to it. It's like like he's running in line with these other soldiers, and these soldiers like I have no idea what this idiot's doing. He's not even wearing a helmet or anything. He's just going. And so this was, I think this was one of the scenes that really just that really hit me. It's like, yeah, like it was just such a good climax for his character, for his stories. Like he's going to do whatever he needs to do to reach his end goal because time is up. Like this is it. Like if he wants to save the lives of these men, he has to do it. No one else there is no one else that can do it except for him. Everything is up to him, and he needs to step up in the moment, and he does. So you see his courage, his bravery, just a huge shift from the character that we saw earlier. So then he makes his way, and then he even gets to where the command post, and he's like, "Say, hey, I need to get in to talk to Colonel Mackenzie," and the guards are like, "Yeah, that's not happening. We're not going to let you in there." But he's like, "I don't care." So he like forces his way in, and because he's so determined, and then we get into the room where Mackenzie is, and turn around, and it is Benedict Cumberbatch himself.
Yep.
You're right. Kind of takes you out a little bit, but yeah, good old Benadryl Cabbage Patch.
Yep.
Wimbledon tennis match. Bendy Cat Cookie Batch. Okay, there's a couple good ones.
Yeah.
Bread Machine Cracker Jack. Benedict Cumberbatch. He refuses to listen at first. So going back to that moment where it's like some men just want to fight, like he just
the guy before that wouldn't let him go onto the field, not go on the field, but to go to Colonel Mackenzie, and wouldn't listen to him about holding off the soldiers and the information he had. He refused to listen, and then he finally gets to him, and he doesn't want to listen at first.
doesn't want to listen, but then he tells him that the Germans have planned this attack, like that you were running into a trap. And so Mackenzie reluctantly is like, okay, I'll read the letter. So he gives him the letter and then he tells his major to hold off, tell his men to stand down, and tend to the wounded, and hold the line. Mm-hmm. So that our hero's mission has been accomplished. He has reached Mackenzie, and with much resistance and much opposition, he convinces Mackenzie to read the letter, and Mackenzie holds off the first wave and saves the lives of all this men, and likely changes and sets keeps the right trajectory as far as the U.S. and their allies winning this war. Mm-hmm. But this was such a good moment where we get we hear from Benedict Cumberbatch's perspective. For one, he says, "I hope today would be a good day, but hope is a dangerous thing." That's one of the biggest things in this movie is hope. I've mentioned it already. Like Schofield was hopeless at the beginning. Blake was hopeful. Schofield lost all hope at all his last moment. After he got out of the river. Baptism. I didn't even catch that.
Yeah.
He died, went through the waters of baptism, and came out a new man.
Yep.
It's in a lot of movies. People can't get away from it.
Yep.
And sometimes I don't even catch it in the moment until I'm talking about the movie. But anyways, we have our baptism scene. He's baptized in the water, comes out, and though he's in despair, he becomes hopeful once he realizes, oh, I've made it. I just need to finish my mission. I need to finish this. So you have death and resurrection. You have new life. You have hope, which this movie, is debating, like whether or not it is worth being hopeful. The characters are debating that the first lieutenant that he met early in the movie was hopeless. Like, yeah, you guys are going to die on no man's land. Like, good luck. Benedict Cumberbatch is hopeless. Like he said, he even says hope is a dangerous thing. Next week, Command will send another message to go and attack. And he says there's only one way this war ends, and that is last man standing. And then he tells Schofield to F off and go tend to your wounds. And I thought it was great. There was no further discussion between these two characters. It was just, this is Mackenzie's perspective, this is the Colonel, and this is our character Schofield. Our Schofield probably would have been a lot more like Mackenzie at the beginning of the movie, but our character is a changed man. And so he said he doesn't even give him a thank you. He doesn't anything, and so he walks off. Then the story's not over. He's determined to find Blake. He wants to find Blake's brother. So he's told, but he finds a lieutenant or captain or someone, and he's told, like, yeah, you can maybe look for Lieutenant Blake, but you should probably try the casualty clearing section because he's probably dead. So like their hope is diminished. Hope is gone. He's like, this character, he's hopeless. Like, he has no hope. Like, yeah, he's probably dead. Like, but he doesn't give up. Schofield doesn't give up. So he walks through the trenches as wounded soldiers are being carried to safety. And then he asks for Blake again. And we're wondering, is he going to find him? He finds a tent full of wounded soldiers, and we're watching the camera pan through all these soldiers as Schofield's making his way through. And then we meet up with Schofield again. And then he's kind of looking around. He's like, well, I don't see him here. He's kind of like, we're wondering, and we're asking, is that it? Are we without hope here? We're not going to find him. But then we hear a man's voice, and it is indeed Lieutenant Blake. He tells him.
He starts yelling for him.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
So there's that moment of like, what's he going to do?
You're right.
Then he starts yelling. He's like, Blake, Blake. Lieutenant Blake. And he's yelling it over and over again. And Ryan, do we have a Ryan here? Ryan. Just like saying Private Ryan. But no. Right. But he does have that. Like, he wouldn't have, in the beginning of the movie, he wouldn't have done that. No. He would have just been like, well, I guess I won't find him. And
that's it.
That would have been it. But no, he yells, and then we hear him come up behind him.
and he tells him that Schofield tells him that he's from the 8th, and and then Blake says, "Oh, you must know my brother. Then where is he?" And with not a word and a pause, he knows, and he tells him, and then Schofield tells him, like, it was quick, And then Blake tries to keep it together. He asks for his name and says Schofield, and Blake's like, "I'm sorry," and he says, "Oh, Schofield, William Schofield." Will. So this is the first time we get his name. I know we can kind of dig deep into what kind of meaning that has. I don't know, like he was, just another soldier at the beginning of the film. He was a nobody without hope. Now he is hopeful. He's reborn. He's a new character. Like, there is a rebirth here, resurrection. It's like, I'm William Schofield. That's like, he actually gives his name now, which we didn't get earlier in the film. So I don't know if that wasn't, I mean, that I know that was intentional, like the name thing, like they did that for a reason.
And I think since it's Blake's brother, like Blake very much cared about people, and so his brother the same, and like his brother wanted to know, like, no, what's your name, what's your name, you knew my brother, you were the last person he saw, like, I want to know your name, and out of respect for you, and
Yeah, and then he tells Blake that he's going to write to his mother and let her know that Blake wasn't alone and that he was a good man. He was always telling funny stories, and that he saved his life. And then he shakes his hand and turns to walk towards a tree in a grass field, just like the opening shot of the film. Sits down against a tree, and with the sun on his face, he pulls out the pictures of it that he has been holding on the whole movie, and it's of his wife and child. We get no mention of him having a wife or a child in the movie, as far as I know. We get mention of family, talking about going home, and going home to his family for the most part, but we don't know what that means exactly. But the back of the picture with his wife says, "Come home to us." It's on the back of his wife's picture, and then he closes his eyes, and roll credits. So the movie starts out, grass field, pan, Schofield, eyes closed, sleeping against a tree. Movie ends, grass field, camera pans out, Schofield asleep at a tree. So
yeah.
This one has sunlight. The sun's shining on his face, so there wasn't sun in the beginning. At least shining. It was mostly it was grayish and gloomy. This one's more hopeful and sunlight, and so opening shot, end shot, perfect development for our character. Our character is a changed man. He's now hopeful because now he knows we know what he's fighting for. He knows what he's fighting for. He's fighting for his family. He's not fighting for the valor. He's not fighting for the medals. Though he probably has a new outlook on those medals and recognizing the importance of them. Because he probably will make sure Blake gets his medal for saving his life and giving his life and for this mission as well. So and all that, but like. He's more hopeful on the outlook of the war, of the fact that he's like he doesn't know if he's going to make it home, but he's hopeful that he can, and he now wants to. But he also knows that no matter what, he's going to fight for his family. He's going to fight for the ones at home that which is the reason why he came here in the first place. And so he's a renewed hope, and just a good outlook, better outlook on life, and the hope that he needs to keep on going, because the war's not over. It's close to over in history, but it's not over. But he's gonna keep fighting and hopes that he'll come home, but knowing that if he doesn't, he'll lay down his life for the right things.
Yeah.
So incredible movie. Anything to say about the story?
No, there's a lot of interesting facts that I want to talk about in our Patreon.
Yeah, definitely.
Some interesting things about the director as well, and as always, we'll talk about the IMDb rating compared to what we end up giving it, and it's great. It's a really, really good movie, And I don't know, this, I can't, let me look at the list of, I think this is my favorite so far out of all the ones you've done.
That I've done.
Yeah.
And honestly, like, it might be for me too. I like this movie better than I did before after watching it and unpacking
there's a lot of symbolism and really good symbolism in this movie, and really well done.
It's pretty basic, but like the cinematography, the acting, the character like the fact that like there are no pauses in the story except for the time he gets knocked out, but like we're following our character through this 2-hour film, and we're experiencing everything he's experiencing, and we're seeing him develop. And it's just so well written. It doesn't feel forced. It doesn't feel like they're creating character development out of thin air, or that there's character motivations that are coming out of nowhere. Right. It's like, no, this like you believe that they're making these choices they're making. You know why they're doing the things that they're doing. You feel the things that they're feeling, and it's so well done. It's so incredibly directed, good acting, good writing. It's good film
for sure. Yeah. Where do you want to rate it?
Oh man, I don't know. I'm gonna give this a 9.3. Give this a 9.3, which I know is higher than ones I've done that are before it, and that's actually might be my highest rated one. What do we give Shawshank?
Shawshank is 9.5. Founder is 9.5. Whiplash is 9.4.
Yeah. So yeah, this is a 9.3 for me.
Yeah, that's probably fair. Yeah, I think that's about where I'm at too. I don't think I have any objection to that.
Nice. Yeah, 9.3. It's a good movie.
It's exactly what I gave Napoleon Dynamite, was 9.3, which is actually probably pretty accurate. I would compare this to just as good as Napoleon Dynamite.
All right. Another one in the books.
Yep.
And we're not done with war movies.
Yep. That was our I can go and close this out. Do you have anything else?
I think that's it. Yeah.
Cool. All right.
It's a good movie.
That was our review of.
Check out our Patreon.
Yeah. We'll talk a lot more on our Patreon. Talk about this movie and just some interesting facts about it, and there's actually quite a bit to talk about this movie, and we'll give you a mini review as well. So, of a different movie. We have we have a whole backlog of I think we're on our 24th mini review. So a whole bunch of movies and subscribers.
24th. Wow.
Subscribers.
So we're well above 50 movies.
Oh yeah.
Altogether.
Yeah. Yeah. I just posted our 24th, so we actually have a couple more even that haven't been released. But
nice.
What was I saying? Subscribers can recommend movies that they want reviewed, and we'll review them. So another bonus, and of course we'll be releasing our show there pretty soon. So a lot of exciting stuff, and but anyway, that was our review of 1917. We gave it a 9.3. Our next movie is Surf's Up, one of my picks. My only animated movie.
Surf's Up. Shia LaBeouf.
Yeah. And Trent kind of has two, if you count Fantastic Mr. Fox as animated, even though it's stop motion. Sure. But I put stop motion in its own category.
I'd say so. But
yeah,
I get
so that was our review of 1917, and Surf's Up's next week. So yeah, hope you enjoyed that. Remember to glorify God and watch good movies. We're out.
Yep.
Bye.
See ya.